You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Welcome in. It's the Huddle Up Podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Pods. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me is my fellow football priest and the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com, Zack Kelberman. And Zack brings with him this evening some dire odds as presented by Vegas, so to speak. We touched on this so briefly last night, Zack, but you had the article published today at milehighhuddle.com. Gang, go check it out. Teddy Bridgewater, the odds makers aren't too optimistic that he won't be the first quarterback to be sat down and benched in 2021.
Yeah, Vegas is not buying what Teddy Bridgewater is selling in Denver, Chad. You know, for someone nicknamed Steady Teddy, odds makers are projecting anything but steadiness and stability under center for Denver. We mentioned this a few days ago, but we have the article now. Teddy has the second highest odds of any NFL quarterback to become the first quarterback bench this coming season with, plus 300 odds. Number one is Andy Dalton in Chicago at plus 175. That seems like a super no-brainer. It's only a matter of time there before Fields takes over for Andy Dalton, but it's a surprise that Teddy is listed second and not another player who is on that list. I think Vegas is seeing Vic Fangio's decision coming back to bite him, Chad, and I think Vegas thinks that the Broncos' ceiling isn't that high with Teddy as it would be opposed to number 3.
Guys, we're only bringing you this information because it's all part of the tapestry, right, that this season is eventually going to shape into. I still am optimistic that this is the scenario for Teddy Bridgewater where the stars can and should align. Now, that doesn't mean that they will, but if you're looking at what he has at his fingertips, he's never been this gifted as far as opportunities go. Now, he won the job, right? It's his. It belongs to him. But you've got a relatively young and up-and-coming offensive line with an all-pro left tackle protecting your blind side. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, freaking Tim Patrick, tight ends like Noah Fant, Alberto, and a true running back stable teaming with talent. If that's not enough, you've got a defense that even the non-Denver media people are looking around the NFL going, golly, Broncos defense is loaded for bear. So I'm going to err on the side of, hey, I'm going to stay optimistic that Teddy's going to be able to do a little damage this year in a positive way until the information, Zack, provides something else. But this obviously isn't too promising because, Vegas, the odds, these are, there's some voodoo here. There's some magic going on here with where these odds come from and the information and how it's gleaned and all that. They tend to be quite prophetic at times, so let's just hope this is not necessarily one of those situations, because if he gets benched, Zack, I know the Drew Lock fans are going to be stoked to see Drew, but it probably wouldn't portend well for your team.
Well, I'm not really a huge Vegas odds guy. I don't tend to read too much into it. Some people take it as the end-all, be-all when it comes to prognostication or prediction. I'm not quite there yet, but look at the list, Chad. What's one thing that you notice about all those quarterbacks? Those teams drafted or acquired younger guys that are waiting in the wings to take over. Fields in Chicago, Trey Lance in San Francisco, even someone like Taysom Hill in New Orleans, even someone like Kyle Trask in Tampa Bay. I was thinking of Fitzpatrick. They have a young quarterback in Taylor Heineke as well. So the odds makers tend to think that someone like Teddy Bridgewater is grouped indirectly with someone like Taylor Heineke. It's just not a good look for Denver after all these years, 2 years of Drew Lock, to go back to the well of the Band-Aid holdover quarterback and then to end up on that list with the second best odds to bench your guy. And coincidentally and coincidingly, Drew Lock has the third best odds among league backups to make the most starts this coming season, behind only Fields and Trey Lance. So maybe Vegas knows something we don't, Chad. It's still a decent bet to odds makers and to those with eyes and to those that cover the team that Drew Lock's time as a starting quarterback in Denver might not be over just yet.
It might not be over, but it would take, let's say the Broncos had to go back to Drew for any sort of failure to launch on Teddy's part. I think with how the team signaled, I think what the team signaled by choosing Teddy in this competition, the fine print at the bottom is Drew's not our guy post 2021. Like, we're not even really considering that as a viable possibility anymore. So in order for that paradigm to be flipped and for Drew to kind of force his way back into the paradigm, he would have to not only play well, Zach, he'd have to come in and go on, like, dare I say, a Mahomesian Lamar type tear. And it couldn't just be stats either. Like, it'd have to be stats combined with dubs. And you know what? I mean, before you count chickens that haven't hatched yet, this is a team, as I said, if the stars are ever going to align for Teddy, this is the year it's going to. But at the same time, Zach, this team has forgotten how to win. The organizational zeitgeist, that knowledge, that intuitive understanding, it's evaporated. It's gone. Only Von Miller and Brandon McManus remain from Super Bowl 50. They're both, long tooths, gray beards in terms of, the overall roster right now. How are the other guys supposed to pick that up when it's been 4 consecutive losing seasons, 5 of missing the playoffs? It doesn't really happen by osmosis. And usually there's only 2 things that can change that. Great coaching, willing the team to win, tactically, setting up the dominoes to fall in a way that team wins and prospers, and a dynamic quarterback coming out of kind of left field. Who knows, Zach? Maybe Teddy will be that dynamic guy, because we both have our reservations about the coaching wherewithal.
We do, but I'm going to cite you. You always like to say what's the best predictor of future success or whatever, how it goes, Chad, is past behavior. And where has Teddy Bridgewater ever been dynamic among his 5 NFL stops now? People forget he's with the Jets, too. It was a brief time, but he is on his 5th team now. He's never been a dynamic quarterback. He's always been steady Teddy, a very, very low ceiling, a moderately high floor. I just thought it was interesting, these odds. They made it a point, sportsbetting.ag, to note that these odds are non-injury related. That means Teddy would get benched for his poor play and poor play alone. That means he has the 2nd highest odds among any quarterback in the NFL to get benched for poor play. And what did Vic Fangio say when asked if he envisions Bridgewater playing the entire season? Quote, "We're hoping Teddy can be the guy for the entire year because we're playing good and winning." If those change, all bets are off.
We got a couple of, what is it? I think it's a trio of super chats from King Days jumping in. Thank you, King. Well, that's, count them, 1. That's 2. I think it's 3. Did I see 3? Hold on. Let me double check this. No, it's 2. King, thank you. And Sam Bam, we're going to get to you here in just a second. We want to see what's on your mind, guys, because this is that time in the week where we take a peek inside the Mile High Mailbag, because we are your football priests. Each and every week, we're here to offer you the absolution and answers to your burning Broncos questions. We're going to try and be as democratic as possible, get to as many comments, questions across all the different platforms. Of course, we're going to prioritize super chats and stars, but we're going to do our best. Before we get to that, though, Zach, speaking of stars, I know our community is dying to see where we stand on our goal for 500K. So real quick, I'm going to do a rapid fire update on that. First off, hey, shout out to all the new subscribers, our supporters over on Facebook. Really appreciate you. We're trying to get to 250 subs. We're almost 50% of the way there. When we get there, we're going to raffle off some awesome swag to our subscribers, some MHH stuff, some cool little Bronco fan memorabilia things that are going to go along with that. So thanks, you guys. We'll get there sooner than later. 500K stars, Zach, we're at 98%. That seriously blows my mind. Like, I'm not even trying to be, hyperbolic here. When we started this, 500,000 stars, Zach, felt like, 500,000 miles or whatever it is to get to the moon, right? You're like, yeah, that's going to take a minute. But our audience, our community responded with aplomb. Here we are at 98%. And when we reach 500K, which it could be tonight. In fact, Zach, probably will be tonight. We will very soon then, all right, do a drawing where we're going to raffle off a Von Miller jersey, A, and B, a really special MHH gift, okay, that's going to go in your man cave or your fan cave, something that you'll really dig and appreciate. And the only people in the running for that drawing are those who contributed to the goal. And thankfully, we've got Facebook that keeps track of that for us. And I mean, Randy's ran away with this, Zach. Look at that. Randy in first place, leapfrogged Zeus McPeak. Both of you are legendary superstars. Andrew Lampy right there at 3. Howie frickin' Day at 4. Michael at 5. Travis Weber at 6. Simon Wiebe at 7. Travis Tarbox 8. Gary Leeds Palmer 9. Andrew Baker at 10. And then a few folk just outside the top 10. Now listen, just because if you're not number 1 or number 2, doesn't mean you don't have a dang good chance still to win the raffle. It's going to be randomly selected, and we're going to do it on camera. But the way it works is the more stars someone has toward the goal, the more tickets they're going to have in the hat, so to speak. All right. And the minimum qualifying to get a ticket in the hat is 500 stars. So we will, we'll break that down. And then we have a couple cool things to go as consolation prizes to the top 5 folk as it finishes. So thanks to you guys. And we'll update this as the night goes on. Zach, instead of going into other matters of business, since we're 11 minutes into the stream, let's grab Sam Bam here. All right. What's up, Sam? Appreciate your super chat. He says, good evening, Broncos country. I found out today that the Raiders are really owned by Chick-fil-A since neither work on Sunday. Let's go Broncos. Touche.
Very funny. Thank you, Sam.
I dig that. MHH superstar turned moderator Dylan says, I don't trust either quarterback, talking Denver here, of course, to save us if we dig ourselves a hole. Teddy isn't going to go out and win you a game. And yes, Drew has potential, but until I see it translate, I can't say he would save the team either. Fair point. But that's the thing is you kind of have to, this is water under the bridge, but you could always at any point have turned to Teddy. Instead, you went with the higher floor instead of the higher ceiling. And I don't know. I think there's some football karma at play, or possibly there could be some football karma at play, Zach, that will kind of balance out those scales to let everyone know if that was the right decision or not. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding, in other words.
I just want some Chick-fil-A now. I'm just thinking of some chicken nuggies and some Polynesian sauce, Chad. I can't get it off my mind. I think Michaela rubbed off on Dylan a little bit, though. I thought he was more of an optimist. So what's going on, Dylan? I think no matter what, obviously Teddy's not the most exciting. Obviously Locke didn't prove himself as the franchise quarterback we wanted him to be. But we're all in agreement here. This is the best Broncos roster since SB 50. And I think regardless of who's under center, they can win and will win many ball games. I think they're going to be in the playoff hunt by the year's end.
Eddie Vasquez, longtime listener, longtime superstar. Appreciate you, Eddie. He says, I think that the mile-high air will help Teddy's arm a little bit, or do you think it will? And hoping that the line holds up for him as well. It could, but, I wouldn't get your hopes up too much because, I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit hard to say because Denver has been blessed over the last 30 years with some pretty strong arm cats from Elway to Cuddy to Locke. I mean, even Paxton Lynch, for all his giraffe-like awkwardness, dude had an arm. With the exception of Elway and Cutler, I haven't really seen that favor and either any quarterbacks too much, like in a way that is palpable. You could see. You guys have heard me talk about it on this podcast before, Zach, but that play that Jay Cutler made, I think it was 06 when not long after he supplanted Jake Plummer, but that boot to his weak side, and he has to turn around and crank his body around and bomb to Javon Walker, and that ball travels like 65 yards in the air across his body. I'm pretty sure that was Denver, but either way, mile high air, it helps, Zach, but don't get carried away.
Can we throw the question back up if we have it?
Oh, the chat might have jumped it, but he's basically wondering if the mile high air is going to help Teddy.
It can't hurt. I mean, obviously it helps, like Chad was laying out, even people with weaker arms than plus arm talent like Drew Lock. It'll help, but there is a physical and anatomical limit to how far Teddy can throw the football. So we have to hope that they can scheme to get the ball downfield. And that's where Chad and I and many others have reservations.
And it's not just scheme. Teddy has to have that. I don't want to say he needs to be trigger happy. You don't want to get carried away, but
take a chance.
You got to be willing to take those chances when opportunity knocks. Zeus McPeak checking in.
Zeus
on YouTube with a very generous super chat. Stu, love you, bro. Appreciate everything. He's saying hi to everyone in the chat. Legend. We also have Kane Dawson, a living descendant of Billy the Kid, in the house with us tonight. Superstar. Kane, I wish Teddy well, but I doubt he ends the season as the starter. It's been a while, but I'm here for a bit tonight. Well, it's great to have you back, Kane. Appreciate you, brother. Hope all is well. The odds makers aren't favoring Teddy finishing as the starter this year.
No. And I think he has a longer leash, though, than Vegas thinks he has. It's going to take a string of poor games. And by poor, I mean multiple interceptions, 0 touchdown games. He basically has to look like the worst version of Drew Lock in order for Fangio to have enough PTSD to pull the trigger and put the real Lock back in the game. Unless Bridgewater gets injured, it's his job going forward.
I think Zeus might have just leapfrogged himself back into number one seeding in the giveaway, Zach. Here he is with, count it, 11,000 stars on Facebook after just making also a sizable super chat. This is why he is the first face etched on the MHH Mount Rushmore for superstars. Love you, Stu. Travis Weber as well. Dang, dude, that's very generous, brother. Helping his seeding. Travis Tarbox helping his seeding. Aaron Johnson qualifying with a ticket in the hat with those stars. Gary Leach Palmer, legend. Kane Dawson jumping in too. Appreciate that, Kane. And Ed Keating. So we'll keep an eye out for any of your comments, questions, topics in the chat. And we're just kidding. We're just joking, Michaela. It's just, what do you call it? It's busting your chops, right? Only because we love you. Only because we love you. There's just a couple of days there where, it's kind of took a little bit of a pessimistic turn, but I haven't seen it from Michaela over the last 2 or 3 streams. So you are not a negative Nancy. Much love to you. We're looking forward to seeing you in T-minus 24 days, by the way.
I mean, there was a time, Michaela, a few days ago where we pull up a question of yours and there was a literal black cloud hovering above the question. I mean, you were in a pretty dark place. But let me give you some personal advice, and I know this from firsthand experience. Don't develop a reputation, because now you'll be known as Negative Michaela going forward. Just be happy and be the Michaela that the chat knows. I promise you. And everyone else out there having doubts right now, it's going to be a fun year, guys.
We got the chat moving quite quickly. We're going to have to reverse engineer a couple supers that have already jumped to the chat. Real quick, shout out to Travis. Good evening to you as well, brother. Appreciate you. The stars. All right, let me see here. What's on everybody's mind? Dave Glassman, hope your son's doing well, my friend. Really appreciate you. I've kept him and you and him and your family in my thoughts, in my prayers. Hey, look who's here, Zach. Alvin, it's been a minute. Wow. It's good to see you. Alvin says at this point, Drew sucks. He should be better out of the gate. Look at our pool of quarterbacks in the AFC.
Welcome back,
I think
Alvin.
He's meaning Teddy should be better out of the gate. Right, Zach?
Yeah, but this team should be better overall out of the gate. That includes the coaching. When your first 3 games are the Giants, Jacksonville, and the Jets, I mean, those are 3 very winnable games and before the Baltimore game gets there. And one interesting note, now that Alvin brought it up, Chad, another sports betting outlet put out odds today, and the Broncos are projected after 6 games to go 4-2. Make of that what you will.
Really quick here. Travis Weber throwing up some super chat too. I mean, this is how you know, Zach, we have a truly dedicated, passionate, committed, outgoing community here. So Travis and Stu both, and I've seen Michaela do it both in the same stream before. So I mean, I could list multiple superstars. So thanks, brother. Tanner, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. He says, I'm just showing some support. I'll be back with a really big super in a few weeks. Keep up with the pods. Each pod makes my week. # state of being. That's right, Tanner. Broncos country is not a geographic location. It's a state of being. It's wherever you are. And Tanner, I'm not sure where you are geographically, but you're with us tonight. So that's what matters, dog.
Thank you, Tanner.
All right. I am looking here to Tim Hoffman wants to know if the Broncos are trying to be 100% V-worded relative to viruses. I don't like to say the words because social media. I was going to say,
are we still under an embargo?
I just know. I mean, I read an article the other day. Certain things can hurt your reach just by saying the word.
It's crazy.
So hopefully, if you're with us, you can see what it says on the screen. It involves, inoculation. All right. I don't know. I know the Bucs came out, announced today they are 100% there. The Broncos, I know, are pretty close, but there's certain guys that if they haven't up till now, they probably aren't going to. I don't know.
Well, what was the threshold that teams were aiming for? Was it 90%? I believe it was, or 85%. So. The Broncos were among the first teams to hit that threshold, so it would not be surprising at all if they were 100% or very, very close to that, staff and players.
Appreciate you, Travis. Michaela wants to know, what about the hate I see here towards Drew? Well, look, as you guys know, we've talked long. I mean, we coined the term here, lock derangement syndrome. I mean, we're riffing off, a term that was coined for the former president, obviously, but there was a true derangement that took place inside and outside of Broncos country relative to Drew. And honestly, Zach, since the decision was made, I've seen that mostly the vitriol kind of subside. And so that's a relief. That was good to see. So I think for moving forward, Zach, I think Drew's on a, surprises type footing with a lot of fans in that they expected him to win that competition. And when he didn't, they're like, well, hey, until you're on the field, why do I need to really talk about you all that much or include you in my, 2021 outlook or whatever? But the vitriol has dimmed down. I've seen anyway, but maybe Michaela's seeing something else.
Well, we've come to be known as the more Drew Lock centric podcast among those out there. And I haven't checked out other podcasts, but I have noticed, at least on this pod and somewhat on Twitter, like you said, the vitriol has subsided just a little bit. But the other day I saw not just one, but multiple suggestions on Twitter for Brett Rippon to be the backup quarterback and not Drew Lock this year. So it still exists out there for sure. There's always going to be haters of Drew Lock for as long as he's on the team and even beyond that. It's like Paxton Lynch 2.0 in that sense. But I have noticed, at least slightly, it's gone down. For that, we can be grateful.
And you know what they say, right? That the backup quarterback is the most popular
Not
guy
in this case.
in town. We'll see if that ends up proving to be true. Travis, we got your stars, brother. We got your super chat, and I know we're a little bit behind in the chat because we're reading this around 6:28 mark. But any comments and actual questions, topics, we are keeping an eye out for it, bro. Chase says, you don't know much about Teddy in the locker room or huddle if you think he has no swag. Teddy, and so let's talk about swag just for a second, because that's something that got thrown around a lot, Zach, relative to Drew, and not because of anything Drew said, but because of how his teammates would talk about him. They're the ones that used that word to describe Drew, both as a rookie, last year as a starter. I can remember even a few comments like that early in this offseason. But there's a difference. I think Teddy has swag too, but it's a different kind of swag. Right. And I think the best illustration of the type of swag Teddy brings to the table that obviously the coaches are gravitating toward more or valuing more than what Drew, swagger might be, is, again, it was like a dawning on yours truly in, I can't even remember what game it was. Might have been the first game, second preseason game. I don't know. But the television broadcast did one of those camera swings right over the huddle. So he's reading out the play, and he's looking around as he's reading off the call, and he's checking each dude in the eye as he's reading it off, looking for that, recognition back that what your job is. That's just a small thing, but it's a comfort, it's a confidence-inducing type of veteran thing that seems small, but actually goes a long way toward making sure everyone's on the same page. That type of swag, I think Drew had to see from someone else in order to realize, oh, that's something I should be prioritizing more as well.
Well, I think you said it best. Everyone has their own type of swag. I mean, your swag is different than my swag, Chad. Mine's different than yours, and yours is different than somebody else's. And Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, personality-wise, they might play the same sport, they might play for the same team for now, but they're two different people. And that's going to happen in a locker room with 53 or 52 other guys. You're going to have different contrasting personalities. And when I was writing the Bridgewater story before the podcast tonight, I was going through some of the quotes from Teddy Bridgewater when he was named the starter. And he was asked about how he connects with his teammates and what he does and if he's a rah-rah guy. He said, "I've never been a screamer, but I watch the guys around me. I kind of get on their page without stepping on their toes." And I tend to like more of the animated quarterback, the guy who'll get in your face, the Brady, the Aaron Rodgers. But what Teddy said there is perfectly fine too. And the players, it resonates with them. They respond to that. There's no coincidence as to why. Since the day he got here, he quickly became a leader. That's not easy to do, being the new quarterback and coming in late April, and then now he's a starter and everyone is on his side. That's a credit to Teddy Bridgewater's personality and his approach to the game.
Yeah, I mean, even surprising a guy like Garrett Bowles by when he met him the first time, already knowing, not only what school he went to, but the names of his kids, being the first quarterback to take him out to dinner one-on-one when they were in Minnesota. He said, "Hey, Garrett, let's go grab a bite." They went out and grabbed a bite together, quarterback and left tackle. That's swag. That's a guy who I don't think, and honestly, I don't think there was any true strategy there. I think that's just Teddy being Teddy. That's just who he is.
Right.
And the players, his teammates, they recognize that he cares about them, that, he's down. John Figueroa, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thank you for the super. He says, "I've been saying either Teddy's going to play really good and surprise us, or he's going to be normal and get benched. Go Broncos." Hey, again, if the stars are going to align for Teddy at any point in his career, I mean, what is he now, 8 years in? This is when it's going to be. And if it doesn't happen here, he will forever be relegated to stopgap, fail-safe, bridge only. Like no coach, even as great of a leader as he is, no coach in the NFL is going to say, "Hey, come in and let's do a 50-50 open competition where you could plausibly be the guy," because best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So this is it for Teddy.
Yeah, I think if you go by, people love to say follow the data. Well, if you follow the data, you're talking about a quarterback that never hit 15 passing touchdowns until last season. So to expect a jump where he's going to double that or throw for 35 touchdowns and 4,000 yards, you might want to have more realistic expectations. But if he plays like Teddy Bridgewater, and this is what Vic Fangio is banking on, that will be barely good enough to let the Broncos win most games on the strength of just enough offense and plenty of defense, and with some coaching sprinkled in there a little bit. That's what the Fangio wants completely. He made this bed with Teddy, and he took Teddy's floor over Lock's ceiling. It's indisputable.
Real quick, shout out here. We got a shout out. Where'd he go? Andrew with a peach super sticker. I think that's a peach. Yeah, that's a peach. So the chat jumped you. Appreciate you, bro. Swag Nation. If it was so even Steven like Vic claimed the whole time, then why didn't you go with the higher ceiling and arm talent? Shake my head. Drew deserved to start. I do. I agree too. And people will say, there are people right now screaming at their phones going, he didn't win. If he won the competition, then you could say he deserved to start. But again, if it was so even Steven, I think a team that has their finger on both the pulse of the short and long term, they err on the side of the upside. All right. And they chose not to do that this year because you got a coach under the gun to win or he's getting fired. That's it. That's the bottom line. And why did Drew deserve? Two things. All right. Number one, he was your incumbent. All right. He went out and took a lot of fiery darts and bullets last year in a weird season that was just messed up, from the pandemic to all the injuries to just the whole 9 yards.
Excuses,
he went out,
Chad.
And he went through it, right? He shouldered the load, looked good at some points, concerning at others, steady from week 11 on, gave you a pretty consistent brand of quarterbacking. And then what makes it even more so that he deserved it, Zach, was the new GM, the coaches. They said, "Look, Drew, last year wasn't good enough as an organization. It wasn't good enough for you at quarterback. you need to improve. He did improve. He showed palpable, like empirical leaps forward in his development. So that's why, you know what, if I'm Drew Lock and I'm sitting in that room, and he even talked about it, that day that the decision was made, he stood up there and was willing to take questions. When you ask Vic Fangio, what could I have done that I didn't do? According to Drew, he didn't really get much of an answer other than this is just what we feel is in the best interest of our team right now. But I would have drilled a little deeper on that one because I did what you asked me to do, did I not?
Exactly. And my personal opinion, and I'm not trying to start any controversy, but I think Fangio was a little dishonest the whole competition. I don't think it was so even Steven as he painted it out to be. I think once they acquired Teddy, which was and I know every acquisition is an intentional one. I know it's plotted and targeted, but this was especially so. This was the quarterback they decided on over other veterans, over rookies like Fields or Mac Jones or anyone in the draft. They chose Teddy Bridgewater for a reason. Fangio has an affinity for him. I just don't know how it's even Steven one day and the next day Bridgewater is a starter. I don't know how they come after the first game and say, no decision yet. They come after the second game and they have a decision. I mean, one hand never knew what the other one was doing, Chad. It didn't add up to me at the time. And it seemed like they just were waiting for the right time to name Teddy the guy. And Locke playing so well the first preseason game just prevented them from doing that. It wasn't until the second one where Teddy looked better that they gave them enough justification to make that decision. So I don't think Fangio was as honest and forthright as he wants to be perceived as.
You're making a whole lot of sense right now, dude. I'm over here going, yep, amen.
I always got my tinfoil handy.
Dat gum. Michaela wants to know, thank you for the super, Michaela. Is it true that Cam Newton was cut because he would not get inoculated? I don't know. Honestly, don't know. But whatever drama might be associated with Cam Newton in New England and the way that whole thing ended there, you know, the bottom line is teams are willing to shoulder a lot of that and endure drama when there's, a return, right? When there's some kind of benefit that offsets, the demerit. And in Cam's case, he's lost it, right? He's just not the player that he once was. So whatever the drama might have been, maybe that was a big part of it. I don't know. Just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze anymore for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And Charlie, he what else is he going to say? Look what happened to Urban Meyer, who admitted that the V word played a part in determining the roster cuts, and he got in trouble. There's an NFL investigation now into those comments. So Belichick can't say anything on the record, but it's a little suspicious that Cam Newton came out and questioned the V word or said he wasn't, and then like the next day he was off the roster. It also coincided, though, I think, to Belichick, he fell in love. I mean, love and lust with Mac Jones. I really do. I mean, that's his new Brady, and he just wanted to get him to start now. So it was wanting to move on from Cam, who wasn't that impressive. He has a young rookie, and I do think in this climate, Chad, Belichick kind of conformed a little bit to everybody else, the popular groupthink, and I do believe in his heart of hearts, he'll never admit it, but Cam's V status played a part in that.
So real quick before we grab this question, update on tonight's stars ranking. Zeus in the lead. Travis right behind him. Claude with some serious stars on the board. Michael as well. Travis, Aaron Johnson, Gary Leach-Palmer, Andrew Lampy, Kane Dawson, Andrew Baker as well, Alexander Emmert, who has maintained. He's been in like the top 15 for most of our contest here. Ricky Flores, and then, of course, Ed Keating. What's up, buddy? Appreciate each and every one of you, and we will update that one more time before tonight is over. And, of course, keep an eye out for any of your comments or questions in the stream. Trevor wants to know, Zach, what are your thoughts on Teddy's comment on Javonte Williams looking similar to Alvin Kamara? Tedham hate.
I can't get on board yet with that. It's going to take me some time. Even Teddy said he doesn't want to get ahead of himself because comparing a rookie to one of the league's best running backs is a little hyperbolic, Chad, to use your word. But they are built similarly. They offer the same kind of skill set. And I think what Teddy's saying there is that Javonte's ceiling is someone like Alvin Kamara. And if you have Alvin Kamara in this offense, I mean, it's just with this group of receivers and hopefully better quarterback play and coaching, the sky's the limit. So I like that he's hyping up his teammates. But he's also smart enough, Teddy is, and passive enough and docile enough to be like, listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Let's take it one game at a time.
Ed Keating, really do appreciate that. Good to see you, bro. Superstar. And by the way, Charlie's comment, the proof will be in the punting. I like that. Relative to the quarterback situation, right? Larry, what's good? Been a minute since we've seen one of our longtime superstars. Definitely an OG in our community. It's great to have you with us tonight, my friend, and thank you for the super. He says, let's be honest. If Locke took his linemen out to dinner, they'd say he's not focused enough. LOL. Dude couldn't win.
Got a point.
Yeah, he was in a true catch-22, and he even led us into that psychology the night that it was announced, or, the day it was announced that Teddy got the job, when he was asked, how are you going to handle it? And he goes, well, look, I initially really dreaded going into the thing I dreaded the most was going into the team locker or the team meeting and, where the announcement is going to be made. And I have to kind of go through that and everything. And then I thought to myself, how should I comport myself? Should I be, because I'm pissed, right? I am dissatisfied. I am, I'm mad that this happened. But if I do that, then people will say, oh, if I act that way anyway, people will say, this is only proof that Fangio made the right decision. He's immature. He wasn't ready. And yet, if I go out and I just continue being myself and be kind of a happy-go-lucky Brett Favre in terms of the joy of just being out here every day playing footy ball, people will say the same thing. Oh, look, Fangio made the right decision because obviously losing his starting job didn't affect him very much, right? And so he said, I can't worry about that. I just can't. I'm just going to be myself. But it shows you that even he, on a true Freudian level, Zach, recognized he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
And I realized that, and I'm sure he realized that when he was criticized for dancing on the bench in the midst of a win against your division rival. I mean, how is that anything that you're going to pass judgment on a player for? They're going out, they love the game, they're having fun, they're having the time of their lives, a young 20-something kid. I knew at that point he was never going to win in the fan base. They were always going to hold the past quarterback failures against him. And what got even more twisted and disturbing to me, people were actually defending Paxton Lynch crying on the sideline versus Drew Lock dancing in joy on the sideline. That's when I knew. It became clear as day.
All right, we're going to grab Larry again here, and then I'm going to grab one from Travis on Facebook. Larry, thanks again, buddy. That's number 2 and even more generous. Thank you, bro. He says, what's annoying is people use the same reasons they call excuses for Locke to justify why Teddy didn't do good in 2020 in hopes that he showcases what he did in 2019 as a 7-year vet. Locke played with a bad team too in 19. That's right. Teddy gets a pass because, hey, Carolina, man, they just weren't any good. He lost his weapon and all this stuff, right? Those same benefits of the doubt, the Locke derangement folk, those truly afflicted by that virulent bug, when the shoe was on the other foot, they couldn't say, oh, and the same holds true for Drew. They had to pick that apart, find the hole in the boat. Drew should have. Look, Justin Herbert did well in LA, but wait a minute. Teddy did well. Teddy struggled in Carolina. Drew struggled in Denver. These things seem strikingly similar, Zach.
I want to poke a hole in one boat that it just kind of occurred to me. So Teddy was so hampered in Carolina last year. Is that why he had a career year in stats? Most passing touchdowns, most passing yards. Could coaching be a part of that? Having Joe Brady versus, Drew Lock having Pat Shurmur? These things are never taken into account. People never look at the other side of the coin. They focus on their own narrative when it comes to Teddy. Truth is, he had plenty of weapons around him in Carolina last year. Plenty. And when you look at Drew Lock, what did he really have? He had 2 rookie receivers and what? And a tight end that wasn't utilized and was limping off the field half the time. And that's a tough process to be in after the pandemic with a new coaching staff and coordinator and quarterbacks coach with a rookie center you're breaking in with a swinging gate at right tackle. The situations are comparable and they're not in many ways.
Travis says, yeah, sorry, Cam is not coming here. LOL. No, he's not. He might be able to land somewhere, but I don't think Cam wants to go hold a clipboard for anybody, like where he's just the understood backup. I could foresee him just like saying, you know what, I'm out till next spring where I can feel around and see if there's someone at least will let me come in and compete. But who knows? I could be wrong, but this is the former number 1 overall pick, multiple Pro Bowls, MVP award in 2015. The dude has some bona fides, but the injury bug, Zach, just crushed this cat's, his career.
But what does it say that his former coach, Ron Rivera, he's now in Washington, their starter is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And even he was like, thanks but no thanks, I don't want Cam Newton back. The guy might have to accept that he's a backup now in the NFL. His time, he arguably should not have been the Patriots starter last year. And he proved his arm is gone. It's non-existent. All he offers now is rushing ability. And he's a pretty good mentor. He was pretty funny on the sideline with Mac Jones, following him around, trying to get a high five. He's a good guy to have when he's under control, but a starter, I don't think so anymore.
The Queen's in the house on Facebook. Pardon me. Good to see you, Christy. Good to see Michael as well. We got Leaf Roebuck in the house with a question on Facebook. He says, a quarterback buying his left tackle a steak is just taking care of business. If Teddy starts racking up wins, I'll call him TCB and buy a dang jersey. Taking care of business. Okay, thanks. I'm a little slow on the uptake on the acronyms and the syntax.
That one got me too.
You should see me trying to decipher teenage boy texts amongst friends and girls. I suck. Yes. King Days, what's good? Thanks again, man. That's 4 supers tonight. Really appreciate you. He says Teddy will have the best season of his young career. It's not that young, King. I mean, when someone says, I'm sorry, let me just put a pin in this for a sec. When someone says young career, I'm thinking like still on their rookie deal. Teddy's in year 8, right? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, he's in year 8. Although, of course, he missed all of 16 with the knee. Didn't play in 17 with the exception of like a quarter, half of a fourth quarter. So in that sense, you could argue, well, he's more like a fifth year, or let's see. Yeah, he's more like a guy going into year 6 than he is going into year 8. And, it's an argument. But yeah, dude, I mean, I didn't see, hold on, let me see if I can get that one back, the second half of what he said there. But I hope he does. I hope Teddy does have the best year of his career. And I think he has a chance to.
To me, young in NFL quarterback terms means one of two things. Young as an age or young as an inexperience. And Teddy doesn't fall in either bucket. You don't call a guy with almost 60 career starts a young career. He's had a well-traveled career, if you want to put it another way. He's more of a journeyman than he is a young quarterback, but he is what he is. He's steady Teddy, and the Broncos have him now.
Teddy will turn 29 during the season. So, hey, man, relative to an old-timer like me that's going to turn 42 during the season, he's a spring chicken. So, but relative to his NFL experience, maybe not so much. All right.
The guy who replaced him, Sam Darnold, that's a young career. He's both young and inexperienced relatively.
Andrew Morrow with an actual question. Thank you, Andrew. The super sticker. Wait, that was Andrew, right? Either way, Andrew, you're a legend, dude. Is it possible that there are factors we don't know, like indoor meetings, maybe Teddy excelled more? Of course there are. Of course there are factors that we don't know. The Broncos have actually done quite well to keep a lot of that stuff buttoned down and internal. But I know one of the factors, and what exactly the details are, certain things we're just not going to know. And even some things that I've heard and been told that I'm not going to say on a microphone. But, Teddy is, it all kind of falls under the same umbrella of when you pit a young, raw quarterback with pretty high upside, but still learning on the job type, with a buttoned up veteran who's seen some, he's, relatively battle tested, good football IQ, all that stuff. When you pit a guy like that or two guys like that in an open competition, and it's a true open competition, the format of practice, the format of the classroom, always going to favor the guy with the big brain, right? The Trevor Siemian over the Paxton Lynch, which is why we said from the very beginning, why are you making Drew truly compete? Now, it's one thing to say, hey, we're bringing in Teddy. He's going to push you. You better justify your job, my dog. There's a difference between having to justify your spot like any starting quarterback in the league, even the all-timers like the Aaron Rodgerses and the, Tom Brady's and Drew Brees before he retired. Those guys never had to compete for their jobs, or haven't for a long time anyway, right? But they still have to go out there on a day-in, day-out basis and justify the fact that they're the starter. The Broncos chose not to do that, pitting Drew in that open competition, which always was going to skew toward Teddy a little bit. So the stuff, Zach, this was a long-winded way of me saying, the stuff I've heard about classroom and meeting rooms and stuff like that falls under that. Teddy checked more of the boxes that made the coaches, warm and fuzzy and whatnot, more so than Drew in that department.
He gives them a sense of relief. The Broncos coaches, when they lay their head on their pillows on Saturday night before a game, they can feel confident the next day that their quarterback more than likely won't give the game away. They don't have to have that Tasmanian devil worry under center like they would with bad Drew Lock. But Vic Fangio, when I was looking through the quotes, this one escaped me, Chad. We talked about this before the podcast. I want to just air it real quick because it might have gone unnoticed to other people as well. The day that Fangio named Teddy the starter, he was asked, great question, whoever asked it, did Lock's long-term potential factor into the decision? And Fangio said these words out loud, which confirms everything and every theory we've been espousing on the podcast. He said, and I quote, "No, we were just going to make what we thought was the right decision for the team." So he either has no idea what he's doing in terms of scouting quarterbacks, or he doesn't believe Locke has any long-term upside, or that it's negligible compared to Bridgewater's floor. That was just, wow.
Hey, we got one here from Dave Glassman. Was it Fangio or was it Peyton this whole time? I think, relative to the quarterback question, I think it was Fangio, and I think Peyton basically said, look, man, you were foisted upon me as a head coach. And so, hey, I'm going to go out and instead of drafting Justin Fields, I'm going to draft Patrick Surtain so that you have no excuse in the bank to fall back on if you don't win this year. And so when Vic said we're leaning Teddy, I don't think Peyton really tried to do anything other than be a sounding board. Didn't really try to talk him out of it. That's just what I've heard.
He said that. George Payton said those words during the preseason finale in an interview with 9 News. He said his role in the quarterback decision process was to be a, quote, sounding board for Vic Fangio. So that's a Fangio call. And the quote that I just rattled off there, how do you look at that and come away with that any other way than thinking that was all Fangio falling in love with safe Teddy Bridgewater and trying to win ugly and play not to lose? That is Teddy's game. And Teddy's game is the same as Fangio plays. So it's perfect match.
Interesting here. You think one a young quarterback, one not so young, but still young in a non-athletic way. Teddy, turning 29. Sam Darnold already has 38 starts compared to Teddy's 49. Very, very interesting. Andrew Lampy. Vic proved his intentions during halftime of preseason game 1. After Locke's impressive play, he wanted to force how great Teddy looked also. Right. So anytime the mic has been put in front of Vic after any practice or game, like you have to pry out of him something positive about Drew. And even that night where he was truly dynamic, looked freaking phenomenal with the ones. Remember, that was Drew's only shot this summer under the lights with the ones. He knocked it out of the park. I don't have the quotes right in front of me. I'm not going to pull them up. We have them, but we're not going to pull them up. But it was, Drew played well. Let me talk about how Teddy did. It was always the segue coming quick to Teddy, which to me, honestly, it's the Freudian thing. He compared Teddy Bridgewater to Tom Brady, for crying out loud. We should have been right then and there. We should have just said, that's it, guys. Hey, bank it. Teddy's getting this job.
Yeah, Teddy, that's the perfect quarterback for what Fangio wants to do. And I think to an extent, Chad, and now it's kind of making more sense to me, the cobwebs are becoming clear. Maybe that's what Joe Flacco was supposed to be all about. Mostly turnover-free, erratic-free, a steadying presence compared to what Brandon Allen at the time, Drew Lock at the time. They wanted a veteran guy who was going to do enough on offense to let Fangio's defense save and win the day.
Sam wants to know why we aren't going to use the V word relative to inoculation. It's just because there's a lot of censorship from the platforms that we stream to. And by that, I simply mean that if you use those words, robots sense it and will then prevent your stream from going to its full potential in terms of reach. So we just try to avoid it. That's why during all of last season, and to this point even, we don't use the C word. We don't even say it, just because what's the point? Everyone knows what we're talking about, so we just avoid it. Cody, good to see you, bro. Thank you. He said, do you think Denver in 2022 will make a Herculean offer like the Niners did for a quarterback, since this team has clearly moved on from Locke? Teddy 9-8, Locke 12-5, in my opinion. So he's saying Teddy is going to go 9-8 with Locke. You'd get 12-5. I don't know. I'm not convinced you get 12-5 with Locke. By the way, guys, like I say these things, but I think you have a shot to hit a ceiling like that if Drew's your guy than Teddy, just because, again, this is a team that has in many ways forgotten how to win. And so if you're going to kind of break the spell, you need a quarterback with some upside to kind of come out of the blue and kind of jumpstart this thing. And if Drew had shown you nothing, right? If Drew had shown you absolutely nothing in the training camp and preseason to imply that he had made strides and improvements, then it would have made perfect sense to me all the way around. Just go with Teddy. To heck with it. He had his shot, couldn't capitalize, but he did show that improvement. And that's why I'm always going to wonder. And we should probably let tonight's podcast with the odds, thing, talking about Teddy and everything. We should put this to bed for a while, guys, and talk about everything else relative to the Broncos after tonight, because Teddy's the guy for the foreseeable. All we're doing here is stepping on our own, what's, agonizing over this, that, and the other. When it's all water under the bridge, you can't change it.
To answer the question more directly, though, he was asked if if they'll trade up for a quarterback. That would depend entirely on where they finish the year. If they're at 30, that'd be great. If they were, let's say, at 22, 21, 23, whatever, that's going to take a pack of picks that George Payton won't relinquish so fast. But if they're at 10, 8, 12 maybe, I think he'd be more apt and prone to move up. It really all depends how they finish and what quarterbacks come out and what quarterbacks George Payton likes. But the reality is, if Teddy doesn't work out and they moved on from Locke as their starter, they are much more likely to go quarterback in the first round than they are to surrender draft picks for Rodgers, Watson, Wilson, etc.
For a second there, I thought we were talking Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
All right, real quick here. We got to shout out Sam Bam with a super sticker, and Andrew Morrow. It's the chat has jumped you, so let me show you. First of all, Andrew Morrow, Zach wants to know. People are asking if you have any space in the fantasy league.
Listen,
go ahead.
Listen up. I have an announcement, guys. Some of you who've I've been in contact with through email and DM, I've sent you the invite link to the fantasy league. Please check your DMs, check your emails, those I've reached out to. We have some space left, though. It's a 14-team league. I'm going to get to the buy-in after we set the league. The draft, guys, is going to be next Tuesday, September 9th at 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern. That's the draft. So if you want in on the league, and if we've communicated, check your emails, check your DMs. The link should be waiting for you. And those who want in, it's first come, first serve. Reach out to me on Twitter at Kelberman NFL or at email at milehighhuddle@gmail.com, and I will get back to you. Again, guys, first come, first serve, and check those emails and DMs if you haven't already.
Did you say Tuesday or Thursday next week?
Tuesday.
So that's the 7th, gang. Everybody, that's the 7th, FYI.
6 Mountain.
Sam Bam, get up with the Acid Hippo in the house. Always a highlight to get the Acid Hippo in the super stickers, so appreciate you. Cody Dub, a newer name. Welcome, thank you. Connect on Twitter. If it was Teddy versus Cam, who would win? I just don't think Cam has enough juice left to probably even beat Teddy, to be frank with you. But who knows? I don't know. Hypotheticals.
I'm taking Teddy all day over Cam Newton. At least Teddy can throw the football. Cam has nothing left as a passer.
Andrew wants to know if we hit our stars goal. I'm betting that we did, but we won't be able to know for sure till tomorrow. So look for an announcement tomorrow on that front. And then here in the next week or so, we will do the drawing because I know we're closing in on it. If I'm thinking we hit it tonight, but whenever we make the announcement, the actual drawing, which we will do on camera, all right, live, we'll do within the next week or so. We'll want to make it fun, so it'll be cool. Michaela, again, thank you, my friend. She says it's Jay Roper's B-Day. He needs a shout out. Happy B-Day, Jay Roper. Hey, Jay's with us just about every night in the chat. And he always brings I can't even ever think of Jay Roper throwing up a super chat, but he brings the questions. That's as important to us. Good questions, good comments, good football knowledge. So, hey, happy birthday to you, Jay.
Happy birthday, Jay. Thank you for being such a great listener and member of the community. Have a great night.
All right, we are at 55 minutes, so we got to start winding her down here for time's sake. I'm just scrolling here. I want to see if there's anyone we might have missed. Here's interesting. Travis wants to, hey, Chad, of the grunge bands, what's your favorite? For me, Alice in Chains. No doubt saw him in 93. That's funny, Travis, you say that because in my heart of hearts, it's always going to be Nirvana because that's what turned me on to alternative music as a 12-year-old kid in 91-ish. Nirvana, I was like, oh, there is something out there besides Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and, stuff like that. So Nirvana, and then a very close, so close that they're like touching Alice in Chains. Lane Staley is the greatest rock singer of all time, bar none, hands down. Come at me. I'll freaking crush you every time. Lane Staley, better than Axl Rose, better than Chris Cornell. Pick the rock singer, Robert Plant. No one was as good as Lane Staley. All right. Let me see here, guys. Cody Potter, we got him. All right. Let me check here on the back end. Hey, listen, I'm all about the first Pearl Jam record was good. Now, look, grunge isn't my thing, even though it's my era. Grunge wasn't my jam per se. Like, that wasn't what I fell in love with, although I got into it early. I ended up going down the road of, punk rock. It kind of exposed me to that, though. Nirvana was a punk band. Like, they got called grunge, but Nirvana was a punk band, guys. And so I got exposed to that and went down the rabbit hole here. But Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder, he's up there, man. Eddie, think of the trend Eddie set. If you look at the trends from just between Kurt, Eddie, and Lane Staley in their vocal delivery and how they sang, band after band after band after band, all the way up until modern times, man, they cut them off or ripped them off. Mark Lindemood, if you have to have your appendix removed, do you want the guy that's done a few or the guy that's never done one and half-ass read the book? Well, yeah, dude. I mean, hey, I hope he's done it before. Hope he knows a thing or two.
What's the analogy here?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but Mark, the stars you throw up on Facebook, we appreciate you, bro. All right, Zach. Vincent jumping in. Hey, Vincent. Great to have you with us, my friend. Really appreciate you and your generosity and the way you support what we do here at MHH. Any questions or topics, get them in the chat. Zach, I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
What's that?
But even though the Broncos knew there was a slim likelihood that you could sneak Royce Freeman through waivers and onto the practice squad, they lost him, right? Carolina Panthers picked him up. So that counts as 2 Broncos waves that they wanted back on the squad that got picked up elsewhere. Trey Marshall, of course, going to the LA Chargers in division with being reunited with Ronaldo Hill and what's his name? Brandon Staley.
I'm happy for Freeman. I really am. I mean, he's going to get a shot that he wouldn't have in Denver, and he showed this preseason. I was down on him entering this summer, but he showed he has some juice left in those legs, and he's gotten better in all 3 phases of his job as a pass catcher, as a pass blocker. So I wish him well in Carolina. He's the new backup now behind McCaffrey. Better offense, I think. Better coach scheme with Joe Brady. So I wish Freeman well.
I like this from Big Earn. Oh, hold on. Let me find this, Big Earn. A little word salad. I like it. Water under the bridge or bridge water? Bridge over troubled water. Let's hope, because that's a good thing. a bridge over troubled water is what you're looking for. It's like a, life vest, right? It's preserving you. It's saving you. So let's hope that the NFL season is the troubled waters, and Teddy provides that safe passage in the bridge for your Denver Broncos. Naj, what's good, dude? Hey, brothers, nothing worse for a QB than losing confidence. All the arm talent in the world can't make up for losing belief in yourself. On the flip side, this could be career-changing for Teddy in his confidence. Yeah, again, if the stars are ever going to align. But this is all boils back down, guys. Let's exercise the QB demons tonight and be done with it. But, Zach, this is why I said you could have always gone to Teddy, because you don't know confidence-wise what this truly ends up doing to Drew. We won't know for a while yet, well into the future.
Well, obviously it could be career-changing for Teddy, but I'm not really worried too much about Teddy's career or his confidence. I'm worried about the Broncos. So as long as he does his job as the Broncos quarterback and, God willing, does it well, that's all I really concern myself with. But, I'm right there with you, and I think you said it best, Chad. He will never have a better opportunity than he has in Denver. He will never play with a better supporting cast, we think, than what he has in Denver right now, the mix of pass catchers, running backs. Same thing was said about Joe Flacco, though. So we have to hope that's the bar right there. He has to be better than Joe Flacco. Can he do that?
That's the $1 million question. Let me see here. We got Cody wanting to know if there's rules for the fans being inoculated. Something scratching at my brain here. This is for...
I want to say no.
Health and safety. Here's a press release we got for people attending the preseason finale in Denver. All right, this is from the team. Consistent with local guidelines, there are currently no restrictions at Empower Field for fans who are inoculated. Guests who are not are strongly encouraged to wear a face covering to protect themselves. So they're not going to be looking for any kind of proof that someone is or isn't, but they ask if you're not to be sure to wear a mask. All right, so let's keep that in mind for those of us that are going to be going to games this year. Melvin Paulson, good to see you, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate everything you do. And you've contributed quite a bit to our Stars goal, my friend. So I know you've got a few tickets in the hat. But, Zach, with that, if you wouldn't mind getting to the final matters of business to get us on out of here, I'll pull up the last final thing for Facebook tonight, and then we'll bounce.
Yes, guys. Thank you all for tuning in with us. As always, another great podcast, another great Mile High Mailback episode of the Huddle Up Pod. If you guys want to follow us in the meantime until we see you next time on Sunday night, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, be sure to follow the Huddle Up Pod on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account. This is your one-stop shop for all Broncos news, analysis, rumors, transactions, film breakdowns, and so much more at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad on Twitter at Chad N. Jensen. You can follow me at Kelberman NFL. If you haven't already, go to huddleuppod.com and get your swag, get yourself a hat, t-shirt, Dove Valley Deep Diver shirt, anything and everything you guys can picture or imagine is in that store. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. You're going to see a big blue button. Hit that button, become a supporter. $5 a month, you get instant access to our VIP content, including Kelberman's Corner, Broncos Book Club, and Trickle Zone. Really good stuff, guys. We appreciate each and every one of you that have tuned in and subscribed to that. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page and follow that page. Guys, this is your chance right now. If you haven't entered the Stars contest, you want to win some swag from us, go to Apple Podcasts, leave your priest, as you see on the screen here, a 5-star review. It will enter you into the contest to win some cool swag we will give away every month. But you can't do any of that, guys. Any of those things. We ask you these 3 things that take literally 2 seconds. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every single Howie freaking Day video you see on the MHH channel. It helps us grow more than you can imagine, and we appreciate it more than we can intimate. With that, though, we are off until Sunday night. Chad will have Broncos Book Club this weekend. I will have KK Sunday afternoon. Take care, guys, and Chad's going to take us home.
Mile High Huddle, Benji. Mile High Huddle, the email to throw your hat in the ring for the very few spots that remain for the Fantasy League.
First
Mile
come,
High
first
Huddle
serve.
at gmail.com. First come, first serve. And then, Cody, if Denver is up with the Giants, does Locke come in? I don't know what that means. UP.
If they're blowing them out.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. We'll
Good problem
see,
to have. We'll cross that bridge.
Here is the final tally for Stars tonight. Zeus finishes well ahead. Love you, Stu. Travis, number 2. Look at those stars, man. Travis, you're a freaking animal. Randy, you're an animal, bro. Man, Randy threw in at the end. It's going to be interesting to see who ultimately edges out on top for number 1 between Randy and Zeus. Michael, very generous. Claude, generous. Travis, freaking legend. Aaron, Gary Leach Palmer, Andrew Lampy, Kane Dawson, the living descendant of Billy the Kid, Andrew Baker, Alexander Emmer, Ricky Flores. What's good, Ricky? Eddie, Melvin Paulson, Shane Daniels. Thanks to each and every one of you. Again, we will be announcing if we hit goal. I think we did, but we won't know till tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. You got Dove Valley Deep Divers tomorrow night. Be sure to check in with them at 6 p.m. Mountain. And with that, as Zach said, hey, we'll catch you guys soon. We'll be back Sunday night, and we look forward to seeing you then. Have a great, safe Labor Day weekend, and go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.